Good morning, happy Monday. This is Melanie Ash with MelanieAshFitness.com, and I am sharing a healthy, clean, easy recipe hack with you today. I'm going to show you live how I make my protein pudding. And everybody asks about this. When I say protein pudding, they're like, oh my gosh, what is that? I need that recipe. Because a lot of us are used to doing protein powders in smoothies, or you shake it up in a blender bottle and you drink it. I like to eat my calories with a spoon. It makes me feel like I'm getting more, and if I drink it, then I feel like, okay, when's lunch? So I like to make my protein powder into pudding. And really, the only trick is you just use less liquid. This is one of my favorite healthy, clean recipes. If you haven't yet gotten my clean eating recipe book, you want to go on and get that. It's at MelanieAshFitness.com, either /recipe book, or go to MelanieAshFitness.com. And you'll see recipe book in the upper right hand corner. So I'm in my kitchen. I've got this set up. I do have the mic extender. If you're tuning in and you can't hear me, please do let me know there in the comments. And the angle isn't great, but I'm going to kind of show you guys how I put together my protein pudding. It is so simple. You're not going to believe this if you thought it was complicated or you didn't think it was something that you could do. It's really, really super easy. So all that I have here, have my food scale, and this is just a standard food scale that I think we got online somewhere. They're not super, super expensive. You definitely want to have a food scale. If you're trying to eat clean and you're trying to eat on a certain meal plan or to a certain number of calories, you've got to have a food scale. You've got to weigh and measure things. We tend to be kind of inaccurate with our estimates when we eyeball things, and we tend to think that we're eating less than we really are when we eyeball. So you want to make sure that you're measuring to your best accuracy. So I have my food scale. I have my Tupperware. This particular meal I take with me to the gym when I go to work, and I eat it during the day. So I always want to have nice Tupperware to take with me to make sure that I can have my meals on the go. So I am making my clean and healthy protein pudding here, starting with the food scale and the Tupperware. And put the Tupperware on the food scale, and then I turn it on, because that's going to zero it out so that it's not accounting for the weight of the Tupperware. It doesn't weigh a lot, but that way I know exactly that I'm just measuring food. So I'm starting with my protein powder. I use Amazing Grass Protein Superfood. This is vegan. I personally just avoid dairy products for my own personal reasons, not necessarily saying that you have to do that. Whey proteins are a very nice option, but I prefer a vegan protein. And Amazing Grass is the most delicious one that I have found, that is chock full of vitamins and minerals and superfoods and everything, and it still tastes super yummy. This is chocolate peanut butter. So with that, I want one scooper or one serving. It's hard to measure with a scooper because it's hard to know exactly how much constitutes a serving. So that's why I have my food scale. And I just go ahead and pour that in, and I can see where I'm at. And I want 43 grams, so I'm not quite there. So I just keep kind of scooping it in, watching the measurement there on the food scale, the weight of this. I am weighing it in grams. And we're at 41, and I like to be very exact, so I'm going to get to 43 grams of protein powder. An easier way than just scooping it out and kind of guessing, this way I know that I'm getting exactly one serving, which is 43 grams, so I've weighed that right out on my food scale. So for protein pudding, the only difference is between that and doing like a protein smoothie, putting a bunch of stuff in a blender, is that I am just going to use about half the amount of liquid that I normally would, so I can mix it up and make it kind of a protein-like consistency. I like cashew milk. Again, I do try to avoid dairy products for my own personal digestion and things like that. I just prefer not to do a lot of dairy. You could use an almond milk. You could use a coconut milk. You could use a regular milk. I like the unsweetened cashew. This is unsweetened vanilla. It's only like 25 calories a cup. There's like really very minimal ingredients. I do find it to be a little bit more smooth and creamy than an almond milk. Almond milk tends to be just a little bit thinner in my opinion. But again, it's a personal preference. There's no added sugar. It's very light. It's just giving us a little bit more consistency than we would get with water. Although, say you were in prep or you're really trying to avoid certain additives, you could always use water as well. So I've measured out my 43 grams of protein powder. Now, when I'm doing a liquid, this I'm going to measure in ounces on my food scale. You could use a measuring cup as well, and keeping in mind that dry and wet ingredients have different ways that we measure them, and we typically will measure wet ingredients in ounces or milliliters or something to that effect. So I'm getting this also, just so you guys know, from the labels. So if I look at the label on my protein powder, it'll tell me that 1 scoop is 43 grams. So you kind of want to look for that gram or ounces number. And that's going to equate to the facts here as far as how many calories per serving, how many grams of fat, how many grams of protein. That's how many are in 43 grams. So it's important that you know how much of a serving size is to know exactly how much of it you want to be eating, especially if you're logging food in MyFitnessPal or you're trying to stick to a certain number of calories. So with my liquid, I just make it easy, and rather than getting out a measuring cup, I just use the ounces on my food scale for the liquid. So I have a setting on my food scale. I can do grams or I can do ounces. So I just change that over to ounces. Now, if I was going to do this in a smoothie and drink it, I would probably use a full 8 ounces to make it liquidy enough to drink it. Since I'm doing protein pudding, this literally is the hack. This is the only thing that makes it different, is that I'm using a half of a cup of the cashew milk instead of a full cup, so it's going to be much thicker. I know from the serving size that a full cup is 8 ounces, so a half is 4. And you want to do this slowly, because you can't take liquid out. So once you've put too much in, you kind of can't come back from that. So I will slowly pour in, watching the food scale measurement go up. I will slowly pour in until I get to that 4 ounce measurement. And yeah, we're just about 3. Always want to be just right on target, not too much and not too little. You can always add more with anything liquid. You can always add more liquid, but you can't really take it away. So there's where we get from that. So I take that off of there. I'm done with the food scale for now. Now all I have to do is mix it up. And you kind of have to put a little work into this. If you ever made brownies or you baked a cake when you were a kid or even now, you know how you have to kind of beat the batter to get the clumps out. You know, you mix all the ingredients in there, the eggs, and then if you have like a box mix of a cake, you kind of have to go through and really like work through and beat out any clumps of that powder, the mix, the baking mix. Well, this is essentially the same thing. And it will get a little clumpy. Like I said, I do think that the cashew milk kind of does a better job with it as far as kind of settling in there and filling it out so that it's not as clumpy. But it takes a little bit of time and effort, and it's a little arm work for you too as well. So you kind of just want to get in there and stir it, stir it, stir it. Get rid of all those clumps, and you'll see I have a nice little like pudding consistency here that is going to thicken up even as it sits. Another nice little trick of this, if you want, if I'm actually making this for tomorrow, so to save time, you know, with meal prepping, if you make it a day ahead of time and let it sit in the fridge overnight, it'll even get just a little bit thicker, and it has a really nice pudding-like satisfying taste to it, which I prefer. I mean, I think if you're going to be running on the go and you need to be able to drink this smoothie or the protein powder, it's certainly a great option, and I'm always recommending that. You know, look, there's no reason why you have to do a protein powder in your diet, even if you're trying to lose weight. There's no reason you have to, but a lot of the people that I work with have trouble either making time. You know, not all of us can sit down and eat chicken every 3 or 4 hours. Some people don't like a lot of animal protein, or it's harder for them. They're on the go. That's where protein powder is a great way to supplement to get that additional protein in your diet, which I find many of us, especially women, are lacking. It's not necessarily what we automatically think of when we think healthy eating, but additionally, proteins have to be prepared. They're not generally grab-and-go foods, which carbohydrates and fats tend to be. So that's why I would recommend a protein powder, is to get those extra protein grams in during your day if you're low on protein. So I'm done. I have a protein pudding. It's super thick and yummy. It's chocolate peanut butter. It's delicious. You know, what I will typically do with this is I'll chop up some strawberries or even throw some blueberries on there. I like to toast unsweetened coconut flakes and throw that on there as well. Some cinnamon. You could really mix it up. You could throw some nuts. You could do peanut butter. Anything you like to kind of make it like a meal, so you have a bowl of all this yummy good stuff that you can eat with a spoon. One of my favorite hacks is protein pudding, and as you can see, It is very, very, very simple and easy to do. You can make these ahead of time, take them with you to work, eat it quickly. It's like having a little bit of a dessert. Makes a great breakfast as well. So that is actually in my clean eating recipe book. I have a smoothie bowl recipe, which is very similar. I just add a couple of extra superfoods and some spinach. And you can check that out at melanieashfitness.com. It's under recipe book in the right-hand corner, or melanieashfitness.com/recipe book. I've got 30 recipes, breakfast, lunch, dinner. We've got a few desserts in there as well as some of my favorite clean eating travel foods. If you're traveling, we have the big holiday weekend coming up. I know I'll be on the road. Taking some of my easy, on-the-go, clean treats and foods with me to make it easy to stay on track while I'm gone. So check that out at melanieashfitness.com. Give the protein pudding a try. Let me know how you like it. I definitely find that this is the way that I do protein powder 9 times out of 10. Happy Monday. Make it a great week.